Morning, my loves. Happy Friday. Beautiful souls. Hope you can feel the energy building for the equinox, the September Equinox. Autumn here in the north, and of course in the south you got spring. The weather still feels very distinctly, maybe even a little bit of Indian summer here in the UK. It's been glorious, truly beautiful, and even with that incredibly powerful moon, the full moon, and wow, was that bringing up everybody's watery side, to say the least. The flow of emotions through the body, blood, everything that affects and regulates the nervous system. And we are all primarily very keyed in now to the cells of the body, and it's amazing how much effect the moon is actually having on us with this ascension process, because with each code of light that comes in, and of course there's billions of them arriving upon Earth every day, each one that integrates with the cells of our body, with our DNA, requires water to hold the quantity or the quotient of light while it is absorbed into the body like a nutrient. So in many cases, more and more of us have begun to notice that we're holding additional, or what we would maybe even regard as excess liquid within the body, particularly after powerful downloads of light. Interesting. Got slightly sidetracked there. So what I want to talk about this morning, as we're heading to this particularly potent and powerful time of the year, is timelines. I've noticed a few questions recently on videos that I've been putting out, or kind of stills via Instagram, about, what's a timeline? It's a good question. What is a timeline? People use spiritual phrases every day, to the point where it's just become part of our everyday language. Words that we would not have used 10 years ago, they've been added to the kind of the Ascension profile, the things that we think about, the things that we speak about, the energies that we interact with, the actions that we take as a result of this. And one of the things that is bandied around on an almost a daily basis is the word timeline, because we are very much in a period where we have multitudes of timelines available to us. And although it sounds complicated, like say if you watched a film like Interstellar, which happens to be one of my favorite movies, when the star of the film is kind of plunged into this almost like this futuristic man-made kind of portal of space, it actually represents very much where we are at the moment, kind of caught up in the middle of all of these different periods, like energy moving backwards, energy moving forwards, memories of past lives, what we're intending to do in the present moment, manifesting the outcome of where we're currently heading to. All of these things all jumbled up into one space. And a lot of us have felt this very overwhelming. We get so preoccupied with what we're dealing with, that because it's multifaceted. There's so many things to observe, to integrate, to look at, to deal with, to clear, to either align ourselves with, to alchemize, to no longer align ourselves with. And ultimately, what happens when we're on the other side of this very busy interim period, the fourth dimension, for those of you that might be new to the channel, maybe new to my work, we are no longer in what we would call the third dimension, the matrix, where this planet has been pretty much since its point of creation. And very much we were living third dimensional lives when we were born into this world, if we were born from before 2012, moving backwards. that was the date that everything changed, the 21st of December 2012, the cosmic moment. The light switch went off for the old way. The light switch was pressed in the next room, and we, without even realizing that we changed space, moved into the next room. That's where everything got bonkers, it got hectic, all of the downloads started, the shifts began to occur, people began to wake up en masse, light was anchored in. All of this done with almost like an intention to bombard our space with these frequencies in order to create a process of fast moving change. Bearing in mind that what we're doing here at the moment, this jump from 3D, ego-based vibration, solid, tangible, polarity, light, dark, you know, the whole visceral learning experience on Earth, we're moving from that in 20 years or less to a fifth dimensional vibration, which is governed by the heart. You know, we are moving into a period of time rapidly, you know, like literally as we're speaking, as you're listening to me, where the polarity does not exist in the way that it used to. Yes, we can still see light, yes, we can still see dark, people still have the choice of what they engage with on this planet, but the choice is becoming more difficult to engage with energies of the ego than they are of the heart. You try it as your own personal social experiment one day if you want to see how this operates. You could if you wanted to subject yourself to it, you could spend a day of being bad or whatever you want to do. You could get up in the morning, eat a load of crap for breakfast, wait until the pub opens, head down the pub, smash a few beers in, go and just spend your day like that, doing things that you know, just all of the warning bells are going off. It might be an enjoyable break, but it will, in that particular moment, lower your frequency, lower your vibration. You'll feel like cack afterwards, and then you'll probably instinctively do things that will naturally raise your vibration afterwards. The way that we are responding to these choices now is becoming more extreme. So when we make the choices that are not in alignment with a higher vibrational body, we feel the impact more. And this goes across the board. It applies to everybody. Everybody on this world will be feeling this now. And that's not just the physical choices that we make for ourselves, it's the choices of our thoughts. It's how we engage with others. It's how we present ourselves to the world, how we do business, how we educate, how we speak. Everything is supported by a heart-centered frequency now, and it is becoming increasingly less supported to be functioning from the ego, which is why, and I've spoken about this before, in many occasions we can see the people that are resisting this heart alignment to almost to the last breath, resisting it, but they're becoming more angry, they're becoming more discombobulated, frustrated, unable to function in this world, and chaos becomes part of their reality as a result of it. So this is why we have what we would describe as multitudes of timelines available at the moment. All of these strings of thought, all of these perceptions of reality, all of these differing views, these differing experiences. The point of transition tends to be very, very up and down with us as humans on a dedicated ascension pathway, or what I'm kind of beginning to notice as an unconscious ascension pathway. People around you and I and everybody else tuning in will be going through the same process as us. This is an important thing to remember at the moment. The people that we view in the street, the souls that we see in supermarkets, everybody just engaging in their everyday life, going about what we might regard as the banalities of human existence. They are all subject to the same codings, the same light, the same stresses, the same frequencies, the same transformation that we are. But there's such power in the human mind that if we're choosing not to see that, or haven't even been gifted the opportunity to be able to be shown that, you're just going to continue as normal. And that's happening. There's a subconscious ascension process occurring everywhere because the same frequencies are happening planet-wide to everybody. But as also you will know, there are going to be a quantity of souls that have chosen not to go through this ascension process, but they are a minority as opposed to a majority. The majority of beings on this world at this moment in time, despite what it might feel like or what we might be witnessing, they have chosen to step through the ascension gateway, which is heartwarming to say the least, even if we may feel that we can't see or perceive the evidence of this at the moment. So all of these differing states, all of these versions of reality, all of these personal experiences, these transformations, create multitudes of different timelines with different outcomes. Because a timeline, the actual, although it sounds complicated and sci-fi and you know, very much kind of like discussed by the beings in the higher realms or on the intergalactic council, it's not, because you're living in one, I'm living in one, we're all living in a timeline that is dictated by our trains of thought, our actions, our speech, our intention, our ability to manifest both consciously and unconsciously. And what's happening is, and this is a real theme of 2024, it's why it's been so physical, why we feel like we're being squished and squeezed and turned into things that we weren't before, and having incredible experiences and massive kind of almost calamitous healings that actually evolve into something so beautiful on the other side of it, but at the time they feel truly unbearable. Or we can just be flowing because we've already done the work. It all depends on our personal level experience, the work that we've done. And so as we are all experiencing our personal, individual states of universal consciousness, what actually happens a little bit later on, further down the line, is that we all come together because our frequencies have unified at a different level, at a different frequency, but we've all got the same pathway, the same timeline. We've all been through our own personal ascension tests and initiations, and then after all of this chaos, all of this befuddlement, it all comes together. Now, from what I've heard, and I've had this information also very much backed up by my good friend David Essery, is that by the time that we reach the December solstice, winter in the north, summer in the south, the majority of this kind of confusing, muddled, spaghettified timelinery is all going to be kind of being put into a unified stream, which means that it's very much easier for those of a like-minded consciousness, for you and I, for heart-centered consciousness, to simply pick that and stay in it without feeling like we're being pulled to one side or pulled to another. But that, again, my lovelies, is all dependent on the quantity of personal work that we've done. The one thing that I'd like to say just quickly about this ascension process is that, and you'll know this already, is that many of us joined the spiritual pathway because we'd had enough of the reality that we were living in. And in many cases that requires human beings to have reached almost a breaking point, I suppose. Others of us would have been just simply guided to it because that's who we are and that's what we want to do. That's our pathway. So we'd have had that gravitation towards it. The spiritual pathway has drawn many people in because it is, and the only way to describe it is because it's appealing. It has angels, it has crystals, it has healing, it has unicorns, higher beings of light, everything that makes you feel buzzy and good in the interim even. But it's when we actually start to dive into it, we realise that it's not just about the heavenly fluffy clouds and the rainbows and the beautiful lights and talking wistily about, you know, the amazing things in the world. It also means the boots on the ground, the nitty gritty, the shadows, the getting muddy, the tears, the emotions, the bad stuff that has gone on in the world and is still going on in the world, and that we'll be able to view on the kind of the reality, the screen and the Akashic records of what occurred on this planet, whilst it was third dimensional, whilst it was ego based, while people still function from that point of reality. But it will become a thing of the past eventually. You know, the things that we see in the world that break our hearts, that make us recoil from that form of reality, they will be in the future a thing of the past. People in our reality will simply not think like that anymore. That does mean giving up a proportion of our free will, okay? And a lot of people have found this triggering when I've presented it to them over the year. Our free will, as we knew it, has changed. You might not have noticed it changing, but it has changed, and it will continue to change. Over the next 8 years or so, your attachment to your free will and the choices that you make will become very differently guided. You will no longer be guided by, I want to do this serves me. It might not serve the other person, but it serves me. The choices that we make, when we make them from the heart, have a tendency to lean towards service, with the betterment of the unified whole. What's good for us is good for the planet, it's good for the people around us, the animals, the trees, the plants. All of this thinking is being re-evaluated as we move through this process. And it's being very powerfully but very subtly done, to the point where all of a sudden, 10 years later, we look at the people who we were a decade previously, and we don't recognize them. We don't recognize how they thought, how they spoke, how they functioned. They might look and sound like us, but they wouldn't have been. The difference is Mars and Venus. So imagine again what we're all going to be like in another 8 years' time, when we've been through more of the processes that we've been through, when the planet has taken more huge leaps, and we have collectively gathered on this, and it is a golden timeline, and we've begun to move forwards and started to make solid foundational decisions that are going to affect ourselves and the planet for the higher good. And we're collectively making those decisions. You know, you might be wondering what happens to the institutions, the education, the governments, all of the people that seem to be making really crappy decisions for everybody around them, everybody apart from themselves and the people that finance them. It might sound difficult to believe or to perceive at the moment, but even amongst these beings, there are highly awakened and highly evolved souls that are now kind of activating into their positions. They're not immediately going to come charging in with lances and armor and you know, like, haha, I'm here to save you. It's a subtle change from the inside out. I'm hearing repeated stories of how people within the, you know, I live in the UK, as you can tell from my accent. The medical industry is full of people that are now awake, and a lot of that we can thank for the circumstances that we've experienced over the last 4 years. We're seeing the same in schools, in politics, and all of this. as people wake up in the middle of these institutions, they begin to change them from the inside out. Because one person holding that quantity of light, that torch, that I am presence, that becomes there's nothing around one of these souls that can withstand the change that is imbued upon them from being in that vibrational field. It's so powerful. So be aware of our unified timeline as we move into this next space. Things are happening faster than they were originally predicted to. So we're still 8 years away from 2032, or maybe like coming up to 7, whatever. 8 years, and we're already moving into a timeline that is going to be held together by souls that we've all got different pathways, we've all got different missions, we've all got different vibrations, but we've answered the call. And that call initially came from the ignition of our navel chakra, held between the solar plexus and the sacral. The ignition of the navel chakra, which beacons with bright, radiant, sunshine orange light, has gathered all of the souls on this planet into a position now where we are holding this stable. So focus on this if you wish to do so. Be aware that you will have your own timeline at the moment that is very much dictated by your thoughts, your actions, the things that you are going through. But as we move towards the end of this year, there's going to be a distinctive shutting down of quite major remnants of the third dimensional matrix, and a big push onto this timeline that requires a certain frequency, which is why this year has been so intense.